I don't know if you can tell, but that's oil. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to start working on this LT1000. This is a customer's machine. Just a little background. They contacted me to do an oil change on another LT1000. They have two. This one is in better shape out of the two, body-wise. So I did the oil change on that one. They said, well, would you want to fix this one? And I said, well, what's wrong with it? And the story is they were cutting the deck, or they were cutting the grass and hit some branches with the deck, broke one of the spindles, and they happened to have, because they have the two machines, they put the other deck on this machine and they were going to use this one. So they brought it in to get service somewhere, and when it came back, it had no oil. And then every time they went to put oil in it, it would just puke oil out everywhere. So I do have the deck. They want me to fix the spindle on there, and it's been sitting for a couple years now, ever since the damage had occurred. So the deck is in okay shape. It's pretty rusty, but there's no holes. So for this one, our main focus is going to be trying to diagnose where the oil leak is coming from, making sure that it fires and runs. And then what if and when we get that all accomplished, doing a service on it, and then getting that deck up and running, so that way we can send them back with a complete unit. So with that being said, let's get into it. All right, first things first, let's just see if there's any oil in here. I don't really want to add more just to make a bigger mess. It's on my trailer right now. Yeah, it looks pretty empty, which is no surprise. I'm just taking a look here. Got a John Deere filter on here. It's kind of a travesty, but there is oil all over it. So they said it's smoke because it would get on the muffler. Now, because it's on this pulley down here, my initial thought is the main crankshaft seal underneath. But that is also kind of deceiving because it's also open underneath the engine, so really it could leak from anywhere and still end up on that pulley. Looks like we got a little wetness here out of our breather tube, a little oily there. And funny enough, I'm dealing with the exact same thing on the pull-on, and that is also a Kohler 16 horse. So theoretically, if I figure one out, then I should possibly be able to do both. Yeah, you can see here, right on top of that pulley is just saturated with oil. So I think what we could do is, the breather valve is behind the valve cover. We could take a look at that to see if that's plugged. We could, since there's no oil in here or very little, we could take the whole engine off and take a look at that crankshaft seal. It's not too big a project. This wiring harness has to get disconnected, the starter gets disconnected, the fuel line taken off, the throttle cable, and then 4 bolts holding the block on. So that's kind of where I'm at, is trying to decide if I want to start with the valve cover or taking a look at the crank seal. If it was the crank seal, I wouldn't expect there to be as much residue up here. You know, that would all be more or less contained beneath. So it's kind of, I don't know. The other thing is, just looking at it now, it's looking awfully wet and grimy down there. So, I mean, it might be in our best interest to put some oil in here. Try to fire it up and just see what we see. Because it's when it's this dirty, it's kind of hard to tell. All right, so underneath, I'm looking at the main crankshaft seal. If it'll focus. And it's probably not showing up too great on camera, but it's wet. So chances are, or more than likely, it's dripping onto the pulley and just getting splashed around. That's my guess. And so I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go for that. We're gonna take our double pulley stack off, which this already has the deck off, so that makes it easier. Just the one bolt here, that side's down. That one there, those are the two engine mounting bolts. Let's see here, there's one in the front. So those four, throttle cable, fuel line, starter, and the wiring harness, and then the whole thing comes off. I will confirm that all of the oil is actually out of here, and then I can just invert it, pop that seal out, put the new one in, we'll be good to go. All right, just drained out the residual oil, or should I say gas. This is mostly gas, so we know we got a carburetor problem too. The tank was empty, so I was thinking it might be okay. They do have a shut off here, which is in the on position, unfortunately. So I filled up the carburetor and the crankcase with fuel, but the good news is that it kind of diluted the oil, so it came on a little bit easier, and hopefully the crankcase will be a little bit cleaner. I don't think that they ran it like that in a thinned out condition. I think it was just from sitting after the whole oil leak. So I'm gonna just let this drip for a few minutes while I work on the rest of it. Like I said, get this fuel line off back here.
Dad, that's my one.
Yeah, I know I have a spider web. Get the fuel line off back at the carburetor. Disconnect this keeper for the throttle cable. Take those two off on this side, the starter and the harness on the other side, and then the 4 bolts along with the crankshaft / PTO pulley. All right, so engine is out on its side. I did go ahead and take the carburetor out. I figured since we're at this point, I may as well deal with that too. It's going to need a rebuild or a clean because the needle is most likely stuck since all the fuel drained out. But here's the crank seal. You can see it's not terribly wet, but also all of the oil had drained out. But just the fact that it's definitely seeping there, and you can see it just kind of slung the oil around in a circular pattern because of that pulley. So I need to order a crank seal, carb rebuild kit, oil filter, fuel filter, air filter. And I think that's it. We'll throw those parts on. It very well could have a secondary leak that I haven't found yet, but this one is obvious to me so far. So we'll address this one. I'll clean everything off, and then we will try to fire it and see if anything else develops a leak. So I'll bring you guys back after we get some parts. We got the seal in. We're gonna get this in and then do a full service with new oil filter, air filter, fuel filter, and oil change. So right now I'm just putting the new seal in. Once this is in, then we can go ahead and start putting everything back together.
Wait, are you talking to me?
No,
Who are you talking to?
the camera, the people watching on the video. Once we've got the seal back on, we can kind of start getting the engine put back into place. There's two nuts on the exhaust flange that are 1/2 inch. Sometimes you can take the whole muffler out instead of having to break it here, but this one I just couldn't get it. I was wrestling with it for a little bit, and I finally just gave up and separated it. So the big thing is, the customer said that they had somebody do a service on this thing, and when it came back it had no oil. And so they just kind of let it sit for a while. When we took a look at it, it had a bunch of oil on the main pulley. And so that was kind of my clue that it was most likely a crankshaft seal. Normally I like to replace the seal by splitting the engine, so that way you're not having to fight it over the crankshaft, and it's easier to get the old one out as well. But this one came out okay. So our exhaust is in. There's one more. We got one more bolt in the front for this bracket here. I'm gonna figure out which one that is. This guy. These are all 1/2 inch. And this thing really needs a bath from all that oil leaking. It's just dirty. So then we can put it, I've got it on sitting on the lift right now. We'll lift it up and we'll start putting the 4 engine mounting bolts in. So the lift makes it easier for getting underneath here, but then you're fighting gravity trying to get the engine because it just wants to slide. But as long as you get one started, then the other ones are held in place at least. So there's 4 bolts. These are 9/16. Yep. Like that. And these tie rods and stuff kind of get in the way, but you can usually get around them. Like this one. You got to put the parking brake on. That'll move that pulley out of the way. There we go. Let's see here. Last one. But now that all four are in, I can just kind of drive them home here with the impact. I like to leave them loose while I'm putting them in, so I have a little bit of room to maneuver it around. And then while we're down here, we may as well put on our double stack pulley. Let's see here, that is going to be, is that 9/16? No, that's bigger. I think that is 5/8. Alright, so the double stack pulley has got a key built into it, so we can put that around for the drive belt. And then line up the key. And drive this pulley. So the top pulley is for the drive belt, bottom pulley is for the deck belt. The drive belt looks to be fine. No problem there. So I'm just gonna run this bolt home, and I think we're done underneath. What? Okay, I love you. Thank you. Okay, love you. All right, so that's good. Do our starter cable. That's easy enough. I didn't get a full rebuild kit. I just got the seal, and I got a couple gaskets for the carburetor. Even though the oil had mostly leaked out by the time we got it, when we drained it, I found that there was some gas in it, so the needle's probably stuck. I have the carburetor off, so we can do a service on that afterwards. Now, this harness plugs in here, but it's also this clip is supposed to be on there, so I'm gonna have to, you see that? That bolt is supposed to go through that clip, so I'm gonna have to redo that. Harness. Plugs in there. Okay, now this side is somewhat temporary because I have to do the carburetor still. I suppose we can lower this down. I don't think we need it up anymore. Alright, old fuel filter. This one didn't have a hose clamp on here. Let's throw a new one on. When I bought the Bluetooth mic that I had been using, it came in a pack of 2. So I know that the other one kept cutting out. So I'm going to try this one for a little bit, see if it's any better. Considering it's the same as the old one, my guess is that it's probably going to work just as well, but we'll give it a shot since I have it. And this side just had a tie wrap too, so I'm going to have to get another clamp. Okay, now let's see here. Throttle linkage can go like so. It's going to be a 5/16 probably. I forgot to mark the location where this sits on the cable. A lot of times there's like a wear mark where it'll align, but we can always adjust it later if it's off. Since I started shooting this video, it's been, I don't know, a while, a week at least. Yeah, see, there's no travel there in the lowest set, so it's gotta, you gotta move that. All the way down should be all the way down. It's probably been a couple weeks since I started this repair, and since then, the customer has told me that they would like me to also repair the deck that they had on this machine. So we'll take a look at that in a few minutes once we got this dialed in a little bit. Breather and air filter. I'm just trying to get some of the peripheral stuff done while I can, and really just procrastinating on doing the carb. Not that it's hard, it's nice outside today. But they have been waiting on me to get this lawnmower done, so I've been a little short on time recently. Had some stuff come up in my personal life, so time has not been on my side, and unfortunately that means that projects like this have had to wait, and I feel bad because it's not too big a deal for the other ones because they're, I'm just fixing them for me to sell, but they're waiting on this one so they can cut their grass. So that's why this one is the priority right now. And see, we got a split right there. So we got a new breather hose. That's all cracked on the end too. Yeah. So that's good to go. I just had this sitting on here, even though the carb would be in place here. I just had it sitting in here just to keep things from getting lost. So in the meantime, until I get that carb done, I'm just going to do that. The stud, and then we got a new air filter. See here. New air filter. $20 for this air filter. I couldn't believe it. Up until this year, I mean, this is the year of the Kohlers for me, I guess. Up until this year, I've been mostly Briggs and Tecumseh. A few Kawasaki's here and there. But this and the Poulan, I think, are the same engine. Even like the body mechanics and everything, it's essentially the same machine. One of the other ones I just did recently was Kohler as well, so. That being said, I don't know. I can't say that these are my favorite. It's just dirty. On the stud here, kind of gummy. Man, it's nice out today though. Sunny, like 70. Nice breeze, keep bugs away. Perfect. And our pre-filter. I don't know if this one's dry or if it's supposed to be oil soaked, so I'm gonna have to check that. Just leave it like that for now. Where's the cover? Cover. Like I said, this is all got to come off when I finish the carburetor anyways, so that's no big deal. Let's see here. Let's take care of that little clamp on the other side. You see where I'm looking at? So this clamp here just holds this harness into place. Like so. Yeah, that's all good. Now we're gonna do oil filter, and I suppose we can put this main engine shroud in. So these also hold the fuel tank into place. And they look to be 9/16 as well. Maybe half inch. Half inch. They're not wanting to go in. Okay, that's good. Perfect. Now let's go take care of this oil. That's right, I forgot this this one had a John Deere filter on it. As much as I'm a John Deere kind of guy, it didn't seem very fitting on this machine. And it's wanting to fight me. Am I tightening it? No. Man, this thing was on there. Yeah, even in there, it's just smell fuel. Got ourselves a genuine Kohler. I'm gonna soak up some of that gas that's in here. I'm sure this little bit won't hurt it, but may as well, right? You know what? Forgot to put some oil on here. And now my finger's stuck in the jug. Where do you guys get oil from? I've been looking all over, just trying to get 30 weight, 4-stroke, small engine oil. I don't know, I'd like to get it in bulk because I use it enough instead of buying it in quarts. Even like, I used to get it from O'Reilly, and even there now I can't get the 5-quart jugs. But I'd like to get like a, I don't know, 5-gallon pail of it or something. I don't know. I know that for different viscosities you can get it in bulk like that. I just, for 30 weight, I'm not finding it. All right, so carburetor or deck, that's where we're at. So we may as well get the carb apart so we can get that soaking while we address the deck. Like I said, I got these 2 gaskets. There's a 3rd one for the air cleaner, and I got a bowl gasket. So I'm not super particular about trying to save those. Let's see. Bowl has got some stuff in there. Not terrible, but we'll give it a clean since we're here, and because we know that the fuel flooded, there is some corrosion around the seat there. Might have to replace that seat, which I did not buy. Get that off. These carbs, there's not really a whole lot you can do to them. There's not a whole lot of jets and stuff to take out. The emulsion tube, I think in the last one, didn't even come out. So really, I'm just gonna do what I can here. Take off some of this stuff. We'll plop it in there and let it soak while we deal with the deck. There's that. I don't even know. It's really not worth doing much. Oh, somebody. So this has got the stopper on it to make it non-adjustable, and somebody's taking it out. So we can go ahead and take this out. It's kind of gummy, so I guess may as well. Really not necessary. In fact, I'm just going to leave that because it's stripping out. This one is just your throttle stop. See if we can get this gasket off. That's about it for now. After it soaks, the rest of this gasket will be kind of saturated, and I can clean it up with the wire wheel. It's just not worth picking at it right now. So we'll get all this stuff put in the ultrasonic cleaner. Our solenoid is not frozen. That's good. We get all this stuff cleaning, and we'll take a look at the deck. So the deck is in decent shape. It's rusty, but there are no rust holes in it. It's still solid. The main issue is this spindle broke. So we got to fix that. But while I'm doing that, I'm also going to clean this up and give it a nice good paint just to help protect it. So this belt looks to be in good shape. I'm just going to pop some of this stuff off here, these covers and whatnot. Should be a cover on this side, I think. Pop all this stuff off that I can, wire wheel all of this down, do some rust, do some paint, call it a day. Same thing on the bottom side. Just going to be a lot of cleaning and painting. Here are the two old spindles. This is the broken one. You can see all the mounting holes. She said she hit a stick or something buried in the grass, so this one is no good. We could maybe save the bearings if we really wanted to. I don't know. This one, the bearings are good. In fact, it's in pretty good shape. Bolts broke off. No big deal there. Should be able to drill those out if we need to. So I'll hang on to that one for a spare. This one, yeah, it's just going to be junk. And these are the two new ones. They came with mounting bolts, the blade bolt, bearings, spindles. So that's the only reason why I'm replacing both, just so that way they're matching. Figure that'll look nicer than this corroded one. And then I'll have that one for a spare. It's the next day. I ran out of time yesterday. Let me show you what I got going on. Got a little bit of paint on the deck. That's as far as I stripped it. I took the spindles off, took the chute cover off, and just left these pulleys and arms intact. It's not perfect. I taped off a couple of decals, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was. Got the rest of the parts underneath are drying up. I just primed it on the underside. Nothing special there. They're kind of tempting fate here. We're supposed to get some rain, so I'm hoping that's going to dry before we do. But while that's drying, I figured we can go ahead and get the carburetor put on. So that way, we'll throw some oil in and we can see if our repair worked, if we're no longer leaking oil, if it's actually going to run. So, let me see what's going on. We have one hose clamp here on this side. Of course, this end is all swollen and might have to clip that back. Oh wait, let's make sure we got enough room for the carb. So we need to take out these studs again. 7/16. I think I gotta wait for that paint to dry, and then I'm gonna give this thing a good wash, and I think we're done. Provided, of course, there are no more oil leaks. All of the servicing is done. Oh, I gotta sharpen the blades too. So not quite done, but getting there. All right. Now I think in the parts manual it said there were three gaskets, and I can only see two, so the other one must be behind that little shroud. I'm going to leave that one intact because I have not adjusted it, and therefore it should be just fine. So this guy is going to go in here. Let's see. Throw that. It would be nice. Where is it? The nut keeps getting stuck on that stud, so the whole stud pulls out, which is kind of annoying, but it's also not the end of the world. And this one. Okay, so that. like so. Now our other gasket. Now I need like 5 hands to line all of this up. That's why if I had just gone ahead and removed that nut, then it would I could put both sides on and everything would kind of stay snug, but that worked. We got it. Just run these down, and then I gotta connect the fuel shutoff solenoid and ground it to the block. And the fuel line. Oh, you know why? Because I'm using the wrong size. Right? What size is that? It's 10 milli? I thought it was 7/16. 10. That would be helpful. And then actually I do have to do I think one of the rear tires needs a tube, I believe. We didn't discuss that, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and do it because I'm pretty sure that I have one that size. Should say, as long as I have one that size, I'll do it. But I ordered it for the pull-on, and these things are like identical, so it should be the same. If I don't, then I don't think I'm going to order one because I don't want them waiting any longer. They were running it with, they would just, jeepers, they would just run it, air it up as needed. And if they're cool with that, then that's fine. Okay, throw some oil in. Fuel. I keep forgetting about the fuel. I'm just eager to hear this thing purr. Now, yeah, I got tons of room. I think I'm gonna nip back a half an inch or so. The end of this fuel line is all swollen from being on the fuel inlet, so it's probably not going to be a nice tight seal. Plus I couldn't get my hose cap on here, so we'll go like that. Throw this on here. And throw it on carburetor. You gotta put some oil in here and some gas. We are good to go. Oh, battery too. That would help. All right, moment of truth here. I put oil in it, put some gas in, put the battery in. Let's Make sure everything's working here the way it should. Alright, let's give it a shot. I think our battery's toast. I had it on the charger for a while, but it does not want to turn over. Alright, let's try this again. Even though the battery is from 2022, I just did a load test on it and it is no good. I think this was 22, right? Yeah. 22. Got the jumper pack hooked up. I don't know if there's going to be enough juice in there. Parking brake is set. We got it on choke. We're in neutral. Might take a while to prime the fuel system. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Give the starter a rest here. Nice. I'm not hearing that solenoid click. So we got fuel, but I wonder if that solenoid is not. Oh yeah, there we go. See that? No bueno. Let's see if we can fix that. Alright, it's the next day. It did rain. I ran out of time last night. The solenoid, fuel shutoff solenoid was grounding out, so I was not getting fuel flow. Luckily enough, the Poulon Pro here has the same Kohler Command 16 horse. So I just swapped them out. This is the bad one. You can see the wire jacket here is stripped. Oops, you can't see. Right there. So I put the bad one in here, took the good one, so we can attempt to make this Craftsman run. Got it hooked up. Show some choke. The parking brake is set. Let's give it a whirl. Interesting. It wants to fire. Oh, it would help to turn the fuel supply on, perhaps. Let's try that. Interesting. So, that high throttle, start shooting that up a little bit. this carburetor does not have a throttle adjustment. The throttle is adjusted by both the throttle cable here. You can move the position of that in this bracket, or the whole bracket could change too. So I thought it was sounding a little low on the high RPM. I tried adjusting it up, but then it was super high for the idle. So I just adjusted it to where the idle sounds good. And high RPM now. Sounds pretty good. And the smoke cleared up. It's more likely oil that was just, residual from the leak. So that's all burned off. Looks pretty good. Let's put the deck together. Here's the final look at the deck. Turned out all right. I am missing, I think I'm missing anyways, return spring like this one. I think there should be one on this side for the brake. I gotta look around. I don't know if it fell off when I was moving around painting it, or, for all I know, it wasn't there to begin with. This deck was off the machine because it had that broken spindle. So they had written this off and they thought it was just junk. And when I was there looking at their other machine doing the oil change, I said, yeah, we could probably fix it. So I don't know if I have all the parts to put it back on the lawnmower. I know that the front two arms I don't have, because she called me later on and said that they found them in the garage. So I might just be able to bungee it up for the time being just to get it, moved over there. But this is how the paint turned out. I did save these two decals. They're not in the greatest condition, but I think it always makes it look like a better finished product when you've got the decals remaining. If you just remove them and paint the whole thing, well, then it's obvious that it's repainted. But like at a casual glance, this looks, I don't want to say factory because I know it's not, but it looks a lot better than it did. And on the bottom side, we got the new spindles put in. Those look good. For being aftermarket spindles, I can't even remember how much I paid, but it wasn't a lot. For both spindles, I think it was like $40 just to buy one factory spindle. And that didn't come with the bearings, the bolts, or nothing. With this set that I got on eBay, they're generic obviously, but it came with both spindles, all the bearings, all the mounting bolts, the main bolt that goes through the spindle for both the pulley and the blade. So that's a fair amount of hardware. And I want to say it was like $28 for all of that. So to me, that's a no-brainer. Blades. Obviously, they've got some mismatched blades going on here. I gave them a cursory sharpen. I'm going to tell them to replace them, but they probably won't. This one is, I don't know if this is a mulching blade or if it's just been beat. Maybe this is the one that they hit something with. I don't know, but this one is considerably lighter. This one is just, that's got to be 3/16 steel. This is a hefty blade. This one, not quite so much. So obviously there's going to be balance issues. I'm going to tell them as much, but they're probably not going to replace them. So I just went ahead and gave it a sharpen. We'll throw those on, snug everything up, and then we'll see if we can fit this on the machine. I brought it over here to wash. I had to, like I said, just bungee the front end of the deck up. Even though it's in the highest position right now, it creates kind of a pivot point here from the spots where it's mounted. So there's one clip here. If you can see, there's another hitch pin. right there. So one on either side, 3 total, plus your engagement cable. And that just goes to the top. Here, I'll lower it down so you can see. That goes to the top of the pulley spindle. On this side, right. Oh my goodness. This is like impossible to get back here. Alright, cable goes, here it is, right there, engagement, no wait, that's the brake, it's this one. So you can see it goes to the top of this idler pulley. There's a little through hole, cotter pin sandwiched by a couple of washers. Took me a while to figure that one out. Got the brakes on, belts on, everything's good to go. So we're just going to replace this, or actually we're going to put a tube in this tire if I have one, and then wash it all up. Time to give this thing a bath. You can see this tire, it's split all the way around. So I threw a tube in there. I don't know, I like doing tubes instead of like slime or some of that other stuff. And I think that's what this all is. It's just coated on the inside of the tire. And as soon as I inflated that tube, it started blowing out here. It's not a leak in the tube or anything. It's just all that pressure is exerting on the whatever that stuff is and forcing it out. I'm assuming it's probably going to start coming out of these cracks. But if it is slime or some other sealant like that, then that'll also help seal the cracks on the inside, at least theoretically. But sure made a mess in the shed. I have the pressure washer out. I'm going to give this thing a bath and then grease it up. There should be Zerk fittings in the front, axles, and maybe one for the pivot. Other than that, there's not really a whole lot. Spindles are brand new, pre-greased those when I had the deck out. Yeah, just give it a wax afterwards, after everything dries. Get this thing looking good, and plan is I'm going to get this back to the owner tomorrow. So let's give it a bath. Here we go after a bath. Turned out pretty good. No catastrophic results. The sticker started coming off, so I'm going to have to put some adhesive on there. But everything cleaned up nicely. The main thing, I just wanted to get all that old oil off here, so just so it looks clean, obviously. But that also revealed some stuff. There's some paint flaking there. I don't have this green for the Craftsman, so I'm not going to worry about that. But I think on the cowl here, I'm just going to touch up some of this stuff with some black after this dries. Maybe hit the back here a little bit too. Alright, so here's after a little bit of cleaning and waxing. I think it cleaned up pretty nice. Got a little shine to it. Not going to worry about the seat. Again, this is a repair job for a customer. I probably would do a little bit more work if it was a machine that I was going to try to sell. I still have... Mosquitoes are terrible tonight. So I'm getting eaten alive. And I don't want to stay out here any longer. But I have to clean the lens still. And the wax that I use is really old. I'm just trying to use it up. But it's really powdery, and it kind of makes a mess everywhere. So tomorrow I have to come back and just kind of do a once over, clean up any of the blobs and whatnot. See, there's some residue in here still. What else? The customer dropped off the mounting arms right here for the deck. So I took the bungees off and I got those put on. Greased up the Zerks like I was saying in the last night. I think it was last night. We also touched up some of the paint, some of the black paint where it was bubbling out. I think that looks pretty good. And then hit the back here with some black too, just to protect it, give it a little shine. I think overall, I mean, it turned out pretty nice. If this was a machine that I was trying to sell, you know, I would come back in here and hit some of this stuff. You know, put some black, you know, conditioner, plastic conditioner on here just to get that a little bit blacker. Same thing with all of these. You can use a torch or a heat gun. It kind of does the same thing, and maybe I'll try doing that tomorrow too. But like I said, you know, this is customer just wanted this thing back. They have two LT1000s. The other one was in way worse shape, but it actually ran. So they wanted to get this one fixed up and go back to using that second one as a spare. Well, since I've had this one, now that one won't start, so they kind of want this one back. So I'm going to bring this one back to them tomorrow, and chances are they might send me back with the other one to figure out what's going on with that. And they're also giving me another lawnmower, so have more projects to work with here. But yeah, like the whole point of me telling you that was they want this thing back. They didn't ask me to do anything cosmetically. They didn't ask me to wash it or wax it or anything. But in my opinion, like being a mechanic or being anything in the service industry, and I think being a repair person of any sort is definitely in the service industry. I think what you can do to set yourself apart from others is kind of a big deal. Like, it's something that people remember, and in today's age of poor service, I think it goes a long ways if you just go the extra mile to do something little. Like, to me, it took me 15 minutes to pressure wash this thing and then another half hour to wax it. But, you know, it's clean. It's probably the cleanest it's been since they've owned it. So chances are they'll give me a good recommendation. And if they need this thing serviced next year, maybe they'll remember me. And, you know, I think that goes a lot towards the longevity of a successful service business. That being said, I mean, I'm constrained by the weather and time. You know, if I had 10 other customers with their machines lined up, it would be hard to justify doing this extra service because I don't charge for it. I don't bill them for the extra 45 minutes it took me to do this because it wasn't something that we agreed upon. But that being said, for right now, I think that it's a business practice that I want to continue doing. I think that when you hand somebody back something that's not only repaired but is looking good and well cared for, then that kind of speaks to you on a personal level. So that's my soapbox. Granted, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Everyone's situation is different, but where I'm at right now, I think it's worth it to do. So I'm going to go inside before I get carried away by these mosquitoes. Tomorrow, like I said, we got to do the headlights. I might touch the black just to give that, I don't know, a little bit cleaner look. And then we got to test the deck. Now that I have the arms on, I got to make sure the deck works. But then that's it. And here's the headlight lens. Sorry, mosquitoes are just as bad today as they were last night. This is really odd. Normally, I mean, we've got a big field, so normally there's a fair amount of wind and it keeps the mosquitoes away. This is the first summer that I can recall. I mean, mosquitoes historically are a nuisance in our area, but on our property, they're not typically a problem. But this is the first summer that I can recall where they have been just maddening. And to make things worse, there just hasn't been any wind to keep them away. So, long story short, we're going to give this thing its final test. We pushed back the delivery date until tomorrow because there's expecting thunderstorms again today. So I'm just going to drive this over to the trailer, get it ready to load up, test the PTO, and we're going to call it a day. This battery is not having it. Yeah. All right, latest in the battery saga. I forgot. So this had a battery from 2022. It was not holding a charge. So I swapped it with the battery that I had in the Poulon. That is a new battery. I figured that's going to be just fine. Just noticing that my nicely washed lawnmower is all dirty again from the rain. Oh well. Swapped it with the one from the Poulon because that worked in there. That was a 150 cold cranking amp, and for whatever reason it wasn't working in this one. It does work in the Poulon, so I'll save it for that. But I went and swapped in a 350 in here. This is a manual deck engagement. It doesn't have an electric PTO, so the cold cranking amp requirement is less than that of a machine that has a electric PTO. That just requires, I think it's like 225 or something like that. Just a little bit more. So with the new battery in here, let's fire it up and we'll test the deck and get it loaded on the trailer. I like these ones where you can set the choke and it stays in position. A lot of the other, my personal John Deere and a lot of other ones, it's like spring loaded, so as soon as you release it, it'll pop back into place. But this way, at least when I'm recording, I don't need three hands and I can just hold it and it's in place. Well, I think the deck belt had fallen off during the jostling of the install. There was a lot of slack in there, and I thought the belt was stretched out, so I took it off, put it back on, and it seems like there was more tension on it now, so I must have just had something wrong. So let's try it again. All right, well, we got it on the trailer. It runs, it drives, it cuts. It was cleaner last night, but still got a nice shine to it. New battery, new crankshaft seal, new air filter, new fuel filter, new oil filter. What else did we put in here? I think that was it. Overall, not a bad job. A couple of gaskets in the carb. It's a nice machine. It could stand to use new tires. They had it sitting outside. I don't know how long it was since they had it running before the incident that caused the damage. Oh yeah, new spindles in the deck too. But long enough sitting outside that this tire completely dry rotted. It's cracked all the way around. So we got that tube in there and it's holding, but that one could be replaced. It needs new blades on the deck. They are mismatched and in horrible condition. But yeah, they wanted it running and it runs. So with that, I'm going to finish up this video. And if you guys have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, thanks for watching.